Welcome to the John Clarence Gomez Show. Here's your host, JC Gomez.
Hello,
Hi, John Clarence. How are you?
I'm okay. Uh,
Good.
Welcome to the John Clarence Gomez Show. I'm your host, John Clarence Gomez, and this is my guest today. She is Paule Constable. She is a VT lighting designer. Sh- She won many awards in 2005, 2006, 2009, 2013, and 2020, like the Laurence Olivier Award for Best Lighting Design. She was also a nominee for further production and for a 2007 Tony Award on Broadway. In 2011, she won the Tony Award for Best Lighting Design for a play for War Horse. Welcome to the show,
Thank you,
Paul.
John Clarence. How are you?
Yes, I'm okay.
Good.
Uh, uh, Here is the first question. Uh, how did you become a lighting designer?
So, um, I didn't grow up wanting to be a lighting designer. I didn't really know that there was such a thing as a lighting designer. And I went to university and I read English literature because I loved reading books. Um, and it was when I was at university that I fell into lighting because the person I shared a flat with, she had a job as a follow spot operator on a show, and she went on holiday with some friends, and I didn't have a job, and I just pretended to be her, and I had no idea what I was doing, and I went and worked in this theatre and pretended to be Jackie, and there were some really lovely people there who taught me what I needed to know, and I really enjoyed the kind of feeling of working backstage, and I really liked the people I met, and I realised I'd sort of found my home, as it were. So I sometimes say it's like lighting found me. I didn't know about it.
Uh, what is the job of a lighting designer on theater? Can you tell our listeners about that? What is the job of a lighting designer in a theater? Because some of our listeners don't know about this.
I mean, it's a very common question because quite often people ask me what my job is, and I say I'm a lighting designer, and they go, "Oh, that's nice," because they don't really know what I mean. And some people assume that means that I work with light bulbs, and some people think it might mean that I design the sort of lights they have in their house, or they don't really understand what lighting is in the theatre, and they don't understand what my job might be. I think, in simplest terms, if there wasn't anybody doing the lighting, then a theatre show would be very dark. So every picture that you see in the theatre, there is somebody who has thought about what the lighting is going to be for that picture and how it's going to be. And that can be a very simple thing, and it can also be a very, very, very complicated thing. And what I hope that I do is I tell the story of a play or a musical or an opera with the lighting in the same way that the costume designer is making decisions and choices about what sort of clothes people are wearing, and the set designer is making choices about where they are and what it looks like for the audience. Well, I'm thinking about all of that, but I'm thinking about it about light. So I'm painting the pictures for you with light.
What is the first theater production did you work as lighting designer? What is the first
Oh,
theater production?
John Clarence. It was so long ago I can almost forget. It was
Yes,
100 years ago.
yes.
Um, think the first kind of big production that I worked on was a piece called The Street of Crocodiles, and that was made by a company that were based in the UK, in Britain, but the company was made up of people from all around the world. And it was based on some stories by a Polish writer, and we were a crazy international fringe theatre company, and we were invited to go and make this show in the National Theatre, which felt very grown up to all of us. And I was quite young, but I was working with the company, and I begged them to let me do the lighting. And stupidly, they let me. So that's really my first big opera show.
What about your latest works? Your latest works about lighting designing production. What is your latest works?
So most recently, I've been working on a show called Rock Follies, which is a show about three women who meet working in musical theatre in the 1970s, and they're fed up with all the men being so horrible to them. So they decide that they're going to make their own rock and roll band, and they're going to become a band. And so that's what I've just been doing. It's a musical called Rock Follies. Immediately before that, I was doing a play called The Confessions, which is about a woman's life. And immediately before that, I was doing a ballet called Romeo and Juliet for a choreographer called Matthew Bourne. So my work is very different and very variable, and I'm very lucky that I work in lots of drama, so lots of plays, but I also work in musical theatre, and I work in opera, and I work in a little bit of dance. So it's a big mixture of things. Every day is different.
What is experience on working as a lighting designer on West End and Broadway? What is the experience on that?
I think, it's one of the biggest problems about working in the West End and working on Broadway is that everybody wants to talk about money. And money is a very real thing for us all. But when you're trying to make creative decisions, it's not the most important thing. The most important thing is communication and understanding and collaboration. And when money is so important, it's very hard to really invest in people and give time and space for good ideas, but also time and space for lots of people to be included and to hear different voices. So we're often told that to work in the West End or on Broadway is the most important thing we can do, but actually I don't think it is. I think the most interesting work comes from other places. If you think about a show like Strange Loop or even Hamilton, that those shows didn't set out to be commercial. They weren't made for that reason. They were made because somebody wanted to tell a story, and they were made in places where that story could grow and develop, and then they could become something amazing. And it's the same for me, I suppose. I designed a play called The Curious Incident of the Dog in the Night. We didn't make that to go into the West End. We made that at the National Theatre, and it was a small show, and that became something much bigger. And that's really exciting when you make something and the audience discover it. And that's the sort of thing I like doing. I love to surprise people and also to work with more interesting and richer and more varied voices.
Before we continue the interview, I want to tell, because I'm from the Philippines, I want to tell the theater fans in this country, in the Philippines, that Hamilton is coming next month. on September in Manila, the international tour. Most of their cast
Yeah,
are Australians. Yes, most of their cast are Australians. So I encourage you to watch the the musical. It's coming on next month, September.
that's very exciting, John Clarence.
Yeah.
That's really exciting. Have you seen it before?
No, I never seen it, but I love the song. Lin-Manuel Miranda is a great actor, a great
Yeah,
theater
yeah,
writer, and music and composer and actor. I really like
yeah,
him.
yeah, yeah.
Let's
That's very exciting for you.
yes, yes. Let's continue about how is your how is your feeling winning many awards on Laurence Olivier Award for Best Lighting Design. Can you tell about your experience on that winning many awards?
I think um, the most important thing for me about that has really been that because I'm very old, and when I started out, there were very, very, very few women doing the job that I do. And most people probably secretly didn't think that women could do this job. And so every time I've won an award, I think the most important thing is that I stand on stage as a woman who's a lighting designer and remind people that I'm not going away and somehow I've managed to survive. Um, there are many ways that our industry is not inclusive and it needs to be better. And my success is a tiny, tiny part of that journey. Um, and much, much more needs to happen to make our world more inclusive. But it's a little step on the way, not a big enough one. In the same way that Hamilton is a big step, and Lin-Manuel and hearing his voice is a big step, and Strange Loop is a big step, and we need to keep making these big steps. But I'm a little step.
Yes, the 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 one thing I like in Hamilton is about diversity. The cast are very diverse, unlike many musicals. Yes, I that's the reason why I like that musical because they are diverse. Because as a person with disability with autism, we experience discrimination and persecution. So and we want to fight our rights for our freedom. So discrimination must stop. Uh, any kind of
It
discrimination
must.
like ableism, homophobia, racism, and misogyny must stop. It must stop in this world. We need a world that believes in equality and freedom. That's what the world we need. Yeah.
Totally,
Yeah.
totally. I couldn't agree more.
Yes.
And that's so spoken from your heart, John Clarence, as well.
Yes. Yes. Let's talk about what's your favorite. What is your favorite musical to to
my,
watch?
my favourite musical. I mean, I came to musicals very late, John Clarence. I hadn't, I lived in a world where I did plays and I did a bit of opera, and I didn't really um, know anything about musical theatre. Um, when I was a teenager, my mum and dad did take me to see Cats when it first opened,
Yes,
and
because I love
I
that
remember
musical.
being.
Yes.
It was amazing. It was
Yes.
amazing. But I never thought that was where I would end up working. So I've had the kind of amazing privilege of working when Cameron McIntosh wanted Les Mis to be redesigned. He asked me to do it, and I think he partly asked me because he knew that I wasn't. Les Mis isn't like a conventional musical, is it? It's kind of more of an opera. It's got massive themes and it's serious as well. It doesn't. You don't leave having had a kind of. He dies at the end. So it's very profound, and I think Cameron wanted me to do that because I would take it seriously. So I redesigned the show for him, and I've really, really learned to love it. You know, I didn't know it, and I really learned to find it. It's been a massive part of my life. The other thing that I have really enjoyed working on, and was one of my sort of proudest productions, I think, was when we did Follies at the National Theatre, the Stephen Sondheim musical. And I think Stephen Sondheim's work is just amazing, amazing work.
Yes, he
And
is amazing.
yeah, he's such a genius, and writes musicals about such surprising things. And yeah, I absolutely loved that piece. And then I have a real soft spot for the film of Jesus Christ Superstar. I absolutely love it. And then also, of course, when I think about films, I love Cabaret. And that new production of Cabaret that's in London, that's going to be going to New York soon, is absolutely astounding. And then I've just been working on a production of Guys and Dolls at the Bridge Theatre in London. And oh my goodness, that is such an amazing musical. Every song is just brilliant. It's such fun. Every song is just brilliant. It kind of takes the roof off the theatre. So I've sort of come to musicals quite late, and I've been learning a lot and just learning that they're the best. What's your favourite musical?
My favorite is Rent, Hamilton, and Les Miserables. Les Miserables.
Wow.
Yes, I love that
Yeah.
musical. I also like King and I, the song, because I like that song in King and I called Getting to Know You when I was a child. A child. It is not and also Sound of Music, because Sound of Music and King and I, their song, the Getting to Know You and Do Re Mi, is not only a Broadway or musical song. It also used in as a nursery rhymes, in because when I was a child, I listened to that song. So we don't have a
Yeah.
time. So we don't have a time. So here is the last question. Can you give advice to people, to our listeners who wants to become a lighting designer in future? Can you give them a little bit advice?
Oh, what advice would I give anyone now? I think it's really hard, but I do think you need to love what you do. And like, I love your enthusiasm, John Clarence. When you wrote to me and things, it's like your enthusiasm is infectious. And you know, the theatre it's a hard business. It's a hard world to work in, and it's complicated, and there's lots of personalities, and you work long hours and things, and all of that has to be fueled. You have to believe in something. But then when you sit in a room and you tell a story, there's something about theatre that is so different to watching a film or anything else. That thing that it's live, and that, you know, that it makes you all feel together in that moment. I think that's so precious, and for me, that's the thing that makes me do what I do. And I think you have to find the magic, and believe in the magic.
Yes.
It's so important.
Yes. Thank you for guesting to my podcast, and it's time to say goodbye
Such a
now.
pleasure.
Yes. Bye.
Bye. Thank you for lovely questions, John Clarence,
Yes.
and enjoy Hamilton.
Yes. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to the John Clarence Gomez Show. We hope you enjoyed it.